Welcome back to Breathe Easy, a podcast brought to you by R. Davis Mechanical. On today's episode, we're going to have some fun. We've got Mr. Rob Davis back in the house with us. What's going on, Rob?
Not much, man. Thanks.
Welcome back. And, of course, we've got none other than Rob Chalke. It's the Rob and Rob Hour. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we're going to let these gentlemen bring their expertise to the surface and talk about all of the, maybe not all of the, because that could take a long time, some of the common issues and things they run into in the field, talking to customers, so you as homeowners understand what they're dealing with, how they can help you, and ultimately provide some easy solutions that can be utilized as you go about basic repairs around the house, or whether you need to make that call to a certified professional like these gentlemen in front of us. But before we dive into that, Mr. Chalke, why don't you give us a little background on who you are and what you bring to the table today?
Okay, thank you. My name's Rob Chalke. I'm a longtime professional in the industry. I currently work for a local distributor as a product manager and application engineer. I specify particular systems, help design systems for light commercial and residences, and sell product to great contractors like R. Davis Mechanical.
Very good. Well, as I said, this one's not for me. I'm just going to let you guys roll. So you've been doing this for many years. The collective experience that's coming to the surface here is phenomenal. So, Rob, I'm going to let you kick this off. How do you want this conversation to go? Where do you want to start? What should people know first? Rock and roll.
Thanks. This could go a lot of different ways. Like we were just having a conversation. It can be fun. You know, we get a lot of folks that call here with some, people want to call for a service call as soon as a furnace doesn't work. And there are some things that people can look at on their own to save that $100 or $125, whoever you're calling, where it's a simple solution. Starting with, have you checked the batteries in your thermostat? Has your filter been changed? Has the breaker been tripped? Check those things first. Make sure you have power. Maybe check your gas stove. Make sure you have gas to the unit. Maybe the gas company put a letter out that you didn't look at and threw in the garbage like I do, and they were fixing a gas line that day. Save yourself some money because any company that comes out, if we come out, we have to charge. Not because we're ripping anybody off, but we have lights to keep on and technicians to pay and fuel for the vans and the whole nine. But there's a lot of things you can do. And here at R. Davis Mechanical, a lot of times when you call, I'll ask you these questions. I'm not just going to send somebody out and charge you for it. I'm going to ask you, hey, did you check this? Look at your thermostat. I'm going to ask you some of these questions, try to save you that few bucks, so that when you actually need us, you understand, what's going on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the heating and air conditioning systems in our homes are the most ignored appliance in your home. We're constantly opening our refrigerator. We see our stove all the time. We use our microwave constantly. We only worry about the heating and air conditioning appliances when something goes wrong. There are some things you can do as a homeowner to help prevent problems with those systems, just simply by, as Rob said, change the air cleaner. Not only is it healthy for you and the occupants of your home, but it's also healthy for your system as well to keep that air cleaner changed. Your outdoor unit, whether it be an air conditioner or a heat pump, let's keep the vegetation away from it, at least a foot away, trim those bushes back. Careful when you're using the weed whacker. Let's not chop up the wires or beat up the coil. Those are all things a homeowner can do to prevent problems down the road with their heating and air conditioning equipment.
Yeah.
Do you guys experience this a lot where, like you said, you're asking these questions when people call in, but are people going to that level? I mean, is this something that maybe this was a practice that came about from you having to go out and then you get there and you say, man, like all this was batteries in the thermostat?
Yeah, that's kind of what happens a lot. Obviously, when I started this business, I didn't know all the answers. I didn't know these pre-qualifying questions and stuff. So we'd go out and, you'd be there in December and you go down and the first thing we do is we check the thermostat. Mm-hmm. What's it reading? And sometimes the screen was black. So obviously you just need thermostat batteries.
Right.
And then, we're not going to stop there. We're there, but then we go downstairs, we look at the filter and, we do open the unit and make sure, while we're already there, let's at least make sure everything looks right and should be But then you hand somebody a bill and then it's like, well, all you do is change the batteries. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's more cost to us being here other than just changing the batteries.
Yeah.
And so now I try to alleviate that. And, something that all homeowners should be doing is having a reputable contractor with some type of service agreement where we're coming out twice a year, once to look at your furnace in the fall and once in the spring to look at your air conditioner. Because then we're going to take care of some of those maintenance issues for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to check the batteries. We're going to change. At least your filter is going to be changed or your air cleaner is going to be changed at least twice a year. We'll take electrical readings and amp draws and stuff, and we can say, listen, this part is working right now, but it's drawing high. Do you want us to replace it now, or would you like to wait?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people want to wait, and then they call you on January 2nd when it's 3 degrees outside and you've got 40 other service calls,
Right.
and now they're upset because they have to wait an extra day sometimes, as where they could have preemptively taken care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that allowing your equipment determine when it's going to get serviced, as opposed to you, the owner of the equipment, determining when it's going to get serviced. You can really, the equipment is becoming more and more complicated every day. There's constant pressures in our industry from the government, environmental concerns to make the equipment just more efficient and more complicated. You can do things as a homeowner to help prevent issues, but you do need a trained professional to come out and look at your equipment. And as Rob said, maybe get in front of a potential problem, fix it on your terms, rather than on the furnace's terms.
Being proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, and Rob, you had mentioned how these appliances are sometimes the most commonly disregarded appliances in our house. I think it's a lot like a car. You're taking your car in for routine maintenance, and they're going to be able to check certain things and tell you what you might need to fix, or, hey, your tires are getting a little low on tread. We usually don't neglect that. So This, to me, it's just common sense to have that same type of agreement in place for our homes as well.
Sure. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, we don't blink twice about paying $90, $70 for an oil change, but we kind of balk at paying a professional to come out and look at the most complicated system in our homes.
Yeah.
I think we sometimes get in our head that once this thing's installed, it's just going to run forever. And again, we don't have an issue until we have an issue.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's panic and thousands of dollars later to get things repaired. One thing I want to go back to, Rob, you had mentioned about understanding the costs involved. And I think that's something that a lot of times we bring somebody out, and yes, that's going to be a cost to you, but sometimes we feel like, why are you charging me this? Why should I have to pay this? But I think it's important for all of us to understand the costs involved with running your business and having a technician come out, even if it's to look at something for a matter of minutes.
Right.
So give us some background on what we should understand about what it takes to run your business.
There's a lot that the common person doesn't understand. There's things that people hear and they know what it is, but they don't understand. Like for example, at your house, if you have 2 cars and, your auto insurance is X. I'm a small company and we have 6 vehicles.
Right.
And it's not covered on a residential. It's a commercial policy.
Right.
So as you're driving 12,000 miles a year, we might be driving 20 to 30,000 miles per year per vehicle. So the insurance company knows that there's more opportunity for exposure for an accident. So our cost of insurance is extremely high just for the auto. And then our liability insurance. Again, you have that on your home. You may have a personal umbrella policy or something that's based on you. Our liability insurance is based on payroll. This country lately has been pushing more and more potential young folks into the tech schools and the trades because they understand that people can make a good living without being 6 figures in debt. Well, for us to provide your children that good living, we need to also pay them that.
Yeah.
It's typically close to 50% for an employer's cost. So for example, if I'm giving one of my guys 30 an hour, he costs me close to 45 an hour. On top of that, you have your insurances, your fuel, the time to drive to and from, wear and tear on the vehicles. So, an example we were discussing earlier is if I have to come out and all I did was change your batteries, and I'm telling you it's a $200 bill, you're not paying $200 for a set of batteries.
Right.
You're paying $200 for me to know you needed batteries, and two, to pay that guy or young lady that I sent there the cost of being in business.
Yeah.
We seen a meme not too long ago on social media that was put out, and it was basically a picture of a homeowner saying, why is this $25 capacitor $400? And there was a complete breakdown for that company on why it was $400. And out of that $400, they were making $62.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I could break that down for you too, but no one really wants to listen to every little detail.
Yeah.
But everybody wants Junior to make a good living in these trades, and we want to provide that living. But the homeowner needs to realize that money comes from somewhere, and it's from the service and the installs and the maintenance and things we do.
Yeah.
And not to mention all the continuing education Rob has to pay for his guys to keep up with this continually evolving industry that we're in.
Right.
It's changing every day, and he makes that investment in his people to understand those changes and learn them. So there's a big investment there as well.
Not to mention the tools. Like when we just had this recent refrigerant change, it was highly recommended that you get all new non-static tools.
Yeah.
And our tools aren't cheap to begin with. And now you're replacing a bunch of tools with the same tools, but they're made out of different materials so that they're non-static.
Yeah, and that's the ever-changing landscape. You're replacing perfectly good operating tools with other tools that now fit the industry.
Right.
It's just costs from every direction.
Yeah. And I think it's human nature to want to try to save a buck.
Sure.
But this is where having this education available, at least we can understand a little bit more what goes into running a business. Because a lot of times we're not thinking on that level. We're thinking about what's in this for me.
Right.
My thing's broken. I need this fixed. You know how to do it. Do it.
Right.
And that's really where it begins and ends for a lot of folks. But understanding that for you to do that for me, there's a lot more involved that we have to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Well, oftentimes when I talk to people about this, and it comes up often, I'll ask them, well, what do you do for a living? And how much money did you make today? And what did you have to learn to do what you do? Why does this person deserve any less?
Yeah.
And we have to sometimes just step back and put yourself in other people's shoes.
100%.
And understand, but one of the most dangerous things happening right now is YouTube. Okay. YouTube has
blessing and a curse, as they say.
Yes, it has some great value, but these guys on there showing how you can take the panel off and start working on your own equipment. Please do not do that. There's high voltage in these units. You have to be trained. You have to be aware of what to touch, what not to touch. It's not as easy as they make it look on YouTube. Trust a trained professional to keep your equipment up to snuff.
Yeah.
And to your point about how can you save a buck, just like your vehicle maintenance, you mentioned the oil changes and that. Same thing with your furnace, your air conditioner, your hot water system, whether it be a tank or a tankless. That stuff should all be maintained. As a matter of fact, almost every manufacturer offers a 10-year parts warranty.
Yeah.
That parts warranty states right in it that that's contingent upon proper maintenance by a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that means just changing a filter.
Right.
There's more to a maintenance than changing a filter. That's the first step. And anytime, if things are going perfectly, we're in your house twice a year. Depending on the style and type of filter you use, you might need to change it more often than that.
Yeah.
A common question that I get a lot is, how often should I change my filter? The truth is, it depends. Are you a person that likes to have your windows open more than the air conditioner running? Now you're introducing more pollen to the home. Do you have a lot of long-haired pets? That's going to make you need to change your filter more often. What other type of indoor air quality products are you using? So there is no real answer to that.
Yeah.
It could be anything as common as once a month up to there's some products out there you could change once a year. But even those products, if you have a couple of huskies in the house,
Yeah.
that's probably going to change every 4 months instead of once a year. There's no true direct answer.
Yeah.
The old rule of thumb was if you used the thin fiberglass, it was once a month. If you used the pleated, it was once every 3 months. But no two homes are the same.
Right,
No two people live the same. People have different pets. People have different. There's just a lot of different variables involved.
Yeah, I know for me in the summertime, the big thing that really told me it was time was when the air would kick on and I'd start sneezing because I have horrible allergies.
Right.
So I knew immediately, like, okay, that filter's probably sucked in so much pollen by
Yeah.
this point. And that's when I mean, again, I try to do it every 3 months, but I was learning from your guys earlier, I should probably do it sooner. And again, and that speaks to your point.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks about it differently. Everybody's got different advice on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know when the sneezing starts flowing, that's when it's time for me to make a trip to the hardware store.
Yeah, don't wait till you sneeze. Get it changed before. Yeah, and the other thing is, during the pandemic, which seems like ancient history now,
Yeah.
but during the
Yeah.
pandemic, everybody was aware of indoor air quality and everybody was buying all these apparatus for their heating and air conditioning system because indoor air quality was extremely important then. Now that it's passed, those things have all kind of gone to the wayside and have become less important, but they're more important now than ever.
Yeah.
Just in your example. And we need to pay attention to those devices as well. Make sure they're maintained and they're working properly. You made the investment.
Yeah.
You might as well keep them up and running.
Absolutely.
And to your point about the filter and wait until the allergies kick in, it's not just what it does to us as people. When you are running your air conditioner or your furnace with a clogged filter, you're also stressing the system.
Mm-hmm.
Those blower motors are programmed to operate a certain way. And when you're clogging that, now it's working harder with getting less performance out of it.
Yeah.
And another great point about, you mentioned maintenance agreements.
Mm-hmm.
Other than all these virtues we're talking about with maintaining the equipment, making sure it's operating as efficient as it can be, and hopefully preventing problems down the road, it also ties you into a trusted company that you now know. Many times, homeowner has a problem with their heating or air conditioning system. Who do I call? Who's reputable? Who can I get that's not going to rip me off?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where coming up with a maintenance agreement with a company that you can trust, a reputable dealer, chances are when you do have a problem, if you do, you already know this person. You already trust them. You already know they're familiar with your equipment. And to me, that's one of the biggest values to having a maintenance agreement tied to a company that you can trust.
Yeah. You build a relationship just like you do with your dentist, your doctor.
Exactly.
It's the same type of thing. Who's coming to your home.
Yeah.
We have a lot of customers now that we have codes to get in when they're at work.
Says a lot.
We have customers that request the same technician every year.
Yeah.
Hey, is Chris available to come out? Or is Steve available to come out? Is this person
Right.
available to come out? They don't say, hey, I'm ready for my maintenance. They ask for technicians by name.
Yeah. No, and that, again, I think it speaks to what's become an overarching theme of our podcast series here is the customer service end of your business and what you and your guys do. It speaks volumes that someone's willing to trust you in their home when they're not there. You're not just going to randomly Google somebody and find a company and be like, oh yeah, I'll be at work, but go right in. I'll leave the back door open for you.
Yeah.
No, that's not how this works,
Right.
because you don't know what you're opening your home up to in that case. But to go to that level, again, you're helping with that long term of not having those major issues because there was routine maintenance happening along the way.
Right.
So overall, the grand investment is going to be much smaller because you don't have to lay out for thousands of dollars in repairs when the time comes.
Not to mention, like our right now, our maintenance agreements are being retooled, but in our maintenance agreements, you get a discount. So if there is a repair needed, you're going to get a discount from that repair as well.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, and I know there's again, I said we could probably go down 100 different paths and 1,000 different rabbit holes with this, but for the homeowner to fully, at least for conversation's sake, get a grasp on what they should be aware of, what haven't we covered yet that you would like someone to be aware of in regards to their own awareness of what they see in their home before they pick up the phone, or what should they know so they do pick up the phone at the right time and make sure you're in there doing things right for them?
Well, one thing is to be aware, look at the registers around your house. If you have a forced air system, look at the grills, look at the registers. If you start to see staining or darkness around those registers, that can indicate that maybe your air cleaning system isn't working as well as it should, or that you have another problem. So, keeping aware of those things. Your energy bill, keeping an eye on your gas bill and your electric bill. If it suddenly starts to jump higher than normal, then you maybe want to contact the professionals to come out and look at your system. You may indicate a problem.
Okay. Up till now, most of what we spoke about has revolved around forced air, because that's the most common thing that we see. But here in Western Pennsylvania, we still got an awful lot of boilers.
Yeah.
And we have steam boilers as well. Boilers provide a different kind of heat, but maintenance is probably more important on a boiler because they become dangerous, especially a steam boiler.
Yeah.
A hydronic or a water boiler, not only would you lose your source of heat if the wrong problem happens, now you could be spraying water everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just have a bad boiler, now you've got a wall that needs replaced or something along the lines. It's probably, if you have a boiler, the maintenance on that might be even more important than forced air.
Yeah.
A lot of the steam boilers have steam traps that need cleaned or changed periodically. With your water boilers, you want to make sure you're draining the lines. And, boiler maintenance is usually more expensive than forced air, because after we maintain the boiler and fire that thing up, we got to run around your house and make sure they're all full of water and there's no air pockets.
Right.
So the maintenance might take 45 minutes, but then we're there another hour chasing an air pocket. And that's the wildest thing that when I first started in this business, I could not wrap my head around. Was I'd be draining a boiler. It'd be pure water. I thought I was done. And then I'd get a call the next day and they'd say, well, now this room is cold.
Right.
So you'd go to there and you'd open it, it'd be air, and then it would be water. You'd be like, oh, I got it this time. And then a couple hours later, now that air pocket just keeps following around the loop until you get it all out. And it's not always easy. I mean, sometimes you get lucky, but usually you chase that little air bubble for hours.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing a homeowner can keep an eye out for is, and use their ears. If you hear something with your system, if you hear water cascading or banging or clanking, that also indicates you could have a problem that you want to get a professional in to look at. Because one, you're burning energy for no reason, and two, your comfort level just might not be where it should be.
I know before we started recording, you guys had mentioned that a lot of the steam boilers and things, it's a little bit older, but the people that do it, that can repair it, dying breed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So what's the outlook? What's going to happen as we move forward with these types of systems? If we're going to be losing the people that have the knowledge to repair these types of systems, what are we in for in that respect?
I think on an industrial level and a commercial level, things will be status quo, because that's usually union work. Most homeowners can't afford, nor do they want to pay for the union.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the union. It's just they don't even go after residential work because their cost is too high.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got Joe's Heating and it's charging $125 an hour, and then you call one of these union shops, it might be $400 an hour or more to do the same thing. But to answer your question, I think that what will happen is something's going to have to happen. Either there's going to have to be some of the guys that are still very prominent with this are going to have to start offering more training. But what I foresee is, this is a shortcut world we live in. You're going to get some of these big conglomerations that are owned by investment firms. They're just going to try to convince people to switch out of their steam boilers, go to a water or hydronic, or they'll convince them that the best route is to remove it altogether and put a forced air system in. Now you're going to go from, still a large investment in replacing it, but now you're going to be replacing it and a lot of other components, which will probably triple the cost of that initial investment to replace.
Yeah, and that is so true. But there also is a point to be made that sometimes it is time.
Yeah.
You know,
Time.
it's time to maybe go to something a little more modern, a little more efficient. But there again, it requires scrutiny on the homeowner's part to know that they're working with a trusted, educated, professional contractor to do the right thing, not just throw something in to make a buck. You know, you want to make sure that the system is designed properly, that it makes sense, not only financially, but are you going to be comfortable? And, you know, feel free to scrutinize that and ask questions and get educated on it so you do get the right thing for your home.
I'm not so proud to admit when I need help. I don't pretend to know everything about this industry, and never said that, never will. But I do know a lot of people who know what I don't.
Yeah.
When I come across anything, I've called Rob in on more than one occasion. I've called other vendors that we've dealt with, manufacturers. And if you're a good contractor, they'll help you. Mm-hmm. They'll come to the job and they'll say, hey, I know you were thinking about this, but did you consider this? This is a better solution for what you have.
Yeah.
And I lean that, you know, I don't know everything, you know, and some of these guys have been in business longer than I've been around, and they've been in the industry and they've had much more opportunities for education than I've had. So I lean on every resource, and fortunately I've built good enough relationships that these guys are always willing to come lend a hand when I need it.
I think there's a lesson to learn there for all of us homeowners. Even the experts are going to other experts to get help. So all of us novices absolutely need the feedback and obviously the guidance of what you guys can provide, as we've learned in the last half hour or so as we've talked. Before you wrap up, I want to go a little bit off the beaten path of heating and cooling, because Rob, I know you and I were having a conversation that blew my mind, because I never thought on that level. Flushable wipes. Pretty much this, when you told me this about what these things do, I mean, you think because it has that baked into the title, you're supposed to flush these damn things. But as you've told me, not the case.
No, not
so
the case.
Some of these things you're called out on, you've told me, have been wild. So let's hear about why we should not be flushing the flushable wipes.
Although we are a heating and air conditioning company, we're actually a mechanical company. We offer all plumbing services as well. And I'll say 80% of the time when we get called out because of a clogged drain, a clogged toilet, it's almost always flushable wipes.
Unreal.
Flushable wipes are not flushable. I don't really care what brand, Dude Wipe. There's a million brands of them. They are not to be flushed down the toilet. They are to be thrown in the trash. I mean, you're buying something that might cost you $5, $10, then you're putting it in your toilet, and it's going to cost you $300 or more to get it unclogged. Yeah, flushable wipes are not flushable in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand how that has passed through any firm's marketing.
No, not it. That's what blew my mind. It's right in the friggin' name. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no plumbing system is designed for solids such as that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the next step.
Yeah,
designing plumbing systems that can support these types of products.
Grinders on every load, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe you put one. What is it?
Like a wood chipper.
Food grinder from your sink. You put it in the line.
I mean, they've done it to dishwashers, but I haven't seen it for not mainstream commodes yet. But maybe that's the next step. But yeah, anything that
it's above our pay grade, right?
Yeah, anything that can get caught is going to get caught, and that's something that's going to get caught.
I mean, we go out on a lot of calls, and you know, every year there's one problem that we have a heck of a time figuring it out. And even when you call the people in, everybody seems to get just universally stumped by one weird problem. Flushable wipes is definitely one that nobody understands how that was ever deemed flushable.
Well, we're breaking the case wide open here on Breathe Easy today. I like I said, that was one that just, again, it's so good that, I mean, I don't use the product, so I know I'm good in that respect, but I know there are a lot, I have friends that's what they use.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I share this episode, or at least this clip that we pull, to make sure they understand what they're in for. I don't know if they've had problems, but You know, I know I had one friend that told me about he had some kind of pipe backup, and now I'm starting to wonder. I never even pieced it together until this very second.
Right.
Maybe that's what caused it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
man.
And I'm even going to take this a step further. I wonder if this is a United States problem or a worldly problem. Because in Europe and Asia, the bidets are a lot more common.
Right.
Than here in the
Yeah,
United
very
States.
true.
So in the comments section, somebody knows the answer to that. Fire you know, just curious.
Hopefully this episode goes global and we can start getting some answers from around the
I think we might get some response from the global white, from the flushable white people.
Yeah.
But
maybe
we'll tag dude wipes or something. There you go. There it is.
Hey, not a bad. The products aren't bad.
No, not at all.
Don't flush them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But guys, this has been phenomenal information. As I said, Rob, you've been, as we expected, a lot of great 101 knowledge that our audience needs to hear about. So homeowners, as you've taken in this conversation today, understand these are the gentlemen that you want to reach out to when you have these types of issues, because they clearly know more than me. They know more than you, and they're going to be able to help guide you in the right direction, ultimately saving you money and time down the road. So Rob, thanks a lot for sharing the expertise of all of these years of experience that you've gained. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
Got it, guys.
Thanks.
To everybody else in the audience, this has been Breathe Easy, and we'll see you on the next episode.